Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. Today, we're going to teach you how to dream bold. So, I brought on my next guest, Tatiana Tsoir. Did I pronounce that right?
Yep.
All right. So, I see in the background you have your new book, and it's called Dream Bold, Start Smart. Tell us all about
So the book is for someone who has a business idea
it.
or maybe a hobby that they love and cannot afford to fail, to try it out and fail. So the book is going to help you be your own boss and make money doing what you love. And the book came as a result of working with small business clients for over 15 years. I'm an accountant. I've done bookkeeping first for the first a third of my career and learned accounting, and then got into tax planning, price psychology, management accounting. And basically, I started noticing that people who want to start businesses, they have the same exact questions. They have the same exact concerns, problems. And if not caught timely, they end up in the same chasing a payment or a project trap at some point in in their journey. And that's kind of how the book was came to not to life. I mean, it came to life by writing it, but but actually the idea to create something that would share expertise of someone like me with a broader audience to help them navigate the money, numbers, and taxes aspect of having a business and remove the anxiety related to starting a business.
Yeah, because my first business back in 1989 crashed and burned real quick, and I had a partner at the time who stole some equipment, and then left town. So not only
Yeah.
did I not have this equipment, I didn't have the expertise that he took with him to help me on this business, and so I had to fold the business. And then my second business, which I started 6 years later, although that business did last 19 years, the first 3 years, I was lost. I had no idea what I was doing. And, you know, I went to an attorney, and he's like, oh yeah, you got to be incorporated. You got to do this. You got to do. Great. Okay. Well, here's the money. But I had no idea what it involved because he didn't tell me. He just said, yeah, you got to, the legal things for the S Corp, you got to do this. Great. All right. Are you going to file the paperwork? No, that's your responsibility. What am I paying you for? So, then I had to stay after me for a while because all this missing paperwork. All those things, I probably should have known before I got into business, but I didn't because to me, I just saw the dollar signs, I'm going to make all this money.
The shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there, first of all, right now, especially, there's so much information out there, free information. And it's so hard to make sense of it in the sense that it's so hard to figure out what's first, what's second, what's last. And do you need an attorney? Do you need an accountant right away? Because I used to have, I no longer do that side of the business. I no longer work with startups, but um, usually I would get clients who would come in and say, well, we read that we want to be an S corp, or we read
Mhm.
that we want to be an LLC, or we found online that we're supposed to be an LLC. And at some point, like it's been going on for a couple of years, and then I just started laughing every time someone would say something like this, because there's so much information, so much misinformation, and one-sided information out there that it's just hard to make sense of it, especially if you're not a numbers person. And
Right.
let's be real. I mean, most people aren't. Well, many people aren't numbers people. And a client of mine, I have a client who runs a pretty cool clothing brand company. They design and produce and sell clothing. And he used to be a poetry major in college. But over time, he learned to be a numbers person when it comes to his business, and now he's one of the best CEOs that I've ever worked with. But he told me once, he said something like this: Tatiana, accountants don't start businesses. Visionaries do.
Mhm.
And there is some truth to that if you think about it. I don't know if you agree or not, but there's some truth to that because accountants run the numbers and then they're like, it's not worth the effort. And that's why we don't start businesses.
Yeah.
Visionaries have this vision, this idea. And often the numbers, money, and tax matters, they take the back seat. And sometimes they stay there in the back seat forever. And that's the reason, one of the reasons that I wrote the book is I wanted, because I no longer work with starting out businesses, because typically they can't afford me or someone like me. And um, honestly, they don't need to. They just need to know. They don't need to hire someone like me. They just need my expertise. So I thought that the book would be a way for me to share that expertise and make it affordable and accessible to more people, so that maybe a business owner who would start otherwise would start and lose money would actually not lose that money and eventually be able to afford to hire someone of my caliber.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I started writing books. Is I wanted to share my expertise in social media and search engine optimization and life lessons, and then my sarcasm. And um, but what happened was is that others started coming to me and say, "Hey, Rob, help us with our book. Help us do this. Help us do." So then I had that experience because I've already done it. I can help them do it, and but it's not my main business. My main business is actually creating content for my clients day in and day out. But the books give them that authority that they can then share that with others, and then they can get more business. So the same thing, you're using your book to help educate others, but the majority of those people, although they're going to probably do it themselves, there's going to be a few of them that say, I need your help.
Yeah.
And they're going to read that book, they're going to say, oh, this is just too much for me, I don't want to do it. They're going to pick up the phone and call you, and now you got a whole bunch of clients that you didn't have before. And that's the beauty of a book. I used to hand out business cards like everybody else. Now I hand out books, and to me it's just a better way of gaining a better type of client.
Yeah. Well, for me, this book is a transition to changing or affecting, transforming the lives of more business owners. So it's
Mhm.
more of a quantity of business owners that otherwise would be maybe losing money or maybe
Yeah.
shutting down their business. And that's for me, that's more of that because I realized a few years ago, right before I started on this journey, I've wanted to write a book for a few years now. And but then before I started on this journey, I realized that people who need my expertise most can't afford it.
Yeah.
And yes, I do help businesses transform once they already are running and running lean and running smart. But that starting point, if God forbid, they come across maybe a dishonest preparer or
Mhm.
maybe an attorney like yours who would say, oh, you should be this, but then not do any of the paperwork, or someone who doesn't take that journey seriously,
Yeah.
then they end up wasting money, wasting time, heartbroken maybe. And that's what I want to avoid because
Yeah.
honestly, many accountants like me um, would benefit from this book being out there because none of us loves to clean up the stuff,
Yeah.
clean up someone else's mess.
Yeah.
So if the business owners would start right from the beginning, get some basics down right, and maybe form the right entity,
Mhm.
price their products right, then that waste will be eliminated, time waste, money waste, and agony that both the clients and we experience when we have to deal with
Yeah.
fixing all of that.
And most of my listeners know that a lot of my interviews talk about price. Price is that big thing that a lot of you are afraid to raise your prices because you might price yourself out of the market.
Yeah.
But I find that the higher your price, the better types of clients that you attract.
Yeah. And I mean, there's psychology behind presentation of the price, presentation of the packages. I mean, I only have been in price, kind of pricing with price psychology and for about 3 years. But before that, I was a traditional, typical accountant. I priced based on, oh, how much do I think this
Right.
tax return would take? And that's it. And I would not charge for my time on quick questions. I wouldn't charge for the phone calls, for the emails, for the different things. And I basically shot myself in the foot.
Yeah. And and being from a tax accounting background, when you look at people's taxes, you can already see, look, you're not charging enough to pay for your equipment, to pay for your advertising, to pay for your employees. You either raise your price or you have to get rid of some of this other stuff. You
Yeah.
know, you look at the numbers, and I understand that a lot of entrepreneurs are afraid to look at those numbers, but those numbers tell you exactly, it's like going into a doctor. He has a whole chart of things that are wrong with you. Those
Yeah.
numbers tell you exactly what is wrong with your business.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of my whole philosophy. I work with clients now mostly on a weekly, a monthly basis, which is why, like I said, smaller starting out people can't really afford that. But we work together weekly and monthly. We look at the numbers, and I often have new clients after a month or two say, you know what, I used to cringe before an accountant meeting, but now I'm actually excited to share what I'm planning to do because I saw this in my report.
Yeah.
And that's the transformation that I love. That is just like my favorite moment.
Let's talk about taxes, because I think right now is a we're in November. It's almost Thanksgiving as of this recording. Now, some of you on the podcast probably won't hear it till January, February. That's fine, but you can start planning for the next year. So, what are some of the things that entrepreneurs can do, whether it be in November or the following year for the next taxes? What can they do to kind of look at where they're at and adjust? I can't say that adjust the numbers, but to maybe those deductions, those things that maybe they're not thinking about, because none of us want to pay taxes. So
Well, there's actually a number of things that can be done. But the first and most important, I guess, foundational element is the mindset.
mhm,
So many people are in the mindset of you have to deal with taxes at tax time,
yeah,
but it's actually the opposite. You have to deal with taxes every month, every week, every day, because I'm actually a certified tax planner. So I actually help businesses proactively reduce their tax bills legally. So we use strategies like entity restructuring or multi entity structures, income shifting. And because of those things, like typically accountants, tell clients, oh, run me some of your personal stuff through the
mhm.
business. Unofficially, it's never on the record, but but it's not a but it's not a strategy.
Yeah,
The strategies that I talk about include things that traditional accountants often haven't heard of.
mhm,
And so typically I work with clients throughout the year. We'll look at their reports every at least quarterly, and I look at, okay, how much are we making? Are we on schedule in terms of the tax payment? But what can we do to actually reduce the overall tax for this year?
mhm,
Or maybe there's something coming up next year that we know of, that if we do something today before the year is over, we can actually change how much we pay in total across the 2 years.
yeah,
Planning is everything. And with taxes, especially, many people are in the mindset of, oh, this accountant is expensive, or, they're getting me a higher refund, so they must be better. But it's actually the opposite um, of that. And the quality of an accountant is actually how much they can do throughout the year for you
mhm,
to lower your taxes. And typically for my clients, for tax planning clients, the return on investment on my fee is at least 2 to 300%. So by paying me a certain amount, they typically reduce their taxes by 2 or 3 times that much.
yeah,
But some people are still in that mindset of getting over that number,
yeah,
of writing that check. So what people can do to start is that mindset. What you need as a business owner is, no question, someone who has tax planning, either knowledge or experience or both. Then, before the end of the year, especially 2020 and 2021, the years that we've been affected by the pandemic, many businesses are running either at a much lower income or at a loss.
Mhm.
And if there is a loss, you need to know in November, December, because then you can actually do something that's called a IRA conversion into a Roth,
Mhm.
which will not affect your taxes pretty much, but will allow you to transfer some of your taxable pension accounts, if you have them, into post tax so that you don't pay tax on them again. And that's actually a lot of the things that I'm doing now, November and December. Traditional accountants are typically not busy at all. We are swamped with work because we're doing these plannings, we're updating the books, reconciling records to make sure all the numbers are accounted for and we're using realistic numbers, and looking to see, does it make sense to convert that pension account? Maybe partially, maybe fully. Does it make sense to catch up on, as you mentioned, S corp? For S corp, you have to have reasonable compensation for the owner. Does it
Mhm.
make sense to catch up? Where's the balance so that you get that extra deduction that was incorporated in 2017? All of those things, they take time and they obviously take expertise. So it's not something that's ever included in a once a year tax preparation fee. So now is the best time to reach out to an accountant for sure. But if you already are hearing this and you're in 2021, then you'll know that maybe there's something that you can do. There are a couple of things that you could do retroactively for 2020. And if you're in 2020, you can do a couple of things in 2020 to kind of make sure that you pay less tax come March and April. Entity structures, restructuring, I guess, is one of my favorite topics because most people, when they start a business, they just get an LLC because the
Mhm.
lawyers tell them to, or because they read it on some website. But from a tax perspective, LLCs are the worst in terms of you'll pay the most amount of tax. However, if someone is starting out a business and they, let's say, are not sure if the business will make it or whatever, then maybe an LLC is good because then it's easily converted to something else. But many people just get stuck in that LLC and keep paying self-employment tax on everything.
Mhm.
And so actually tax planners, traditional accountants sometimes know how to do this, sometimes they don't. But typically, if I have a new client who's an LLC, I run their report, let's say as of today in November, December, whatever it is, and see what their income is. If they're at a loss, I keep them as an LLC for that year. If they're making a solid profit, then it's time to convert. And you can actually do it retroactively to January.
Mm.
So you just need to know how to do it, and you need to actually do it. Traditional accountants, typically you come to them in March, it's almost too late to do anything like that. So if your list is hearing this in 2020, then take a look at your the structure, see if it makes sense from a tax perspective. Then if you're in 2021, restructuring never hurts. And here's the thing, this is something that is a myth that a lot of people believe in. Many people go to an accountant and the accountant tells them, okay, you should be an S corp,
Mhm.
and that's it. And they take that information and form an S corp and go on their way. But the reality is that with multi-entity structures, especially now after the tax reform, you can get the best of both worlds. You can have your cake and eat it too. And I'll give you an example of that. Um, this reform created something called a QBI, Qualified Business Income Deduction. That's a 20%. It's pretty high deduction for a small business. And of course, businesses want to get that deduction. But um, many businesses got excluded, like accountants got excluded, accounting services, lawyers, doctors, designers, and pretty much all professionals, except with the exception of real estate agents, architects, and engineers. So basically, when you have a design firm, typically a design firm not only designs, has design fee income, but also sells furniture. because many workrooms only work with design firms and don't work with the public. So you cannot buy that furniture on your own. So in that business, technically, because it's a design firm, you would be excluded and you won't be eligible for that big deduction. However, if you have a multi-entity structure, 2 or 3 entities, you can actually have the furniture sales business be subject to that, but then your design fee business would be separate and wouldn't be eligible for that. So that's a way to kind of create the best tax scenario for a business like that. And it would depend on also the long-term goals of a person and their business goals and their personal goals and so on. So it now is the time to do something about it.
And splitting up those services into different entities makes it a lot easier when you want to sell, because you're only selling that slice and not the whole thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And maybe franchise or
Mhm.
something else. There's so many possibilities, and so many people get stuck in this one entity structure that they don't see or don't want to explore more. But the good thing is that now your listeners will actually have that question in their mind and will always ask, what's the
Oh
best?
yeah, yeah. And what I've been reading lately is a lot of entrepreneurs are just mom and pops. They don't have employees, and they're being given information about solo 401ks and things that will help them save money by putting some of their money in these retirement accounts. But is that the best way to do it?
There's actually no best way to do anything for everyone.
Right.
um, I actually I have a company that's called Business is Personal because I believe that business is personal. Clients have different goals. They have different situations. And I'll give you an example. I had a client, potential client, a couple of months ago, and they came to me and they were like, "Well, we talked to the free lawyer and they told us we should get an LLC." I'm like, "Okay,
Mm.
let's take a look." Let's take a look. So there were two independent partners, a girl and a guy. She uh, was hoping to have kids, be married and have kids within 3 years. And she quit her job. So this would have been her main business. He was planning to stay at his full-time job until this business picked up. And he's a guy, he didn't want to get married anytime soon. So right there is a situation where it's completely different. The vision for the business and the attitude towards the business is completely different. So for them, I actually recommended, I did some calculations and I've sent them the calculations that I've done for their specific scenario. And for them, the 3 entity structure was best to protect not only them, but also the business and their future. And it's just amazing. I'm amazed at how people don't see beyond this one entity structure. So for them, they decided to follow my advice and they formed 2 LLCs, which could then be converted to S corp if they need to. And then their joint venture, their joint company was a C corp.
Mm.
So there are different ways. It's just the problem is that with the structures like these, you do need to have paper and money trail. So if it's a C corp and it gets income and you want to distribute it to other entities, it has to happen during the year, not after the year is over. It's too
Right.
late. So those things become important. And maybe someone is supporting an elderly relative, but their partner is single and fabulous. They're completely two different um, value systems, and you need to be able to bring them together for this one business. Otherwise, the business will break up.
Yeah. Yeah. This pandemic has really, I think, put the kibosh on a lot of entrepreneurs about their dreams, about their goals, about how to run their business, and they're being told by dictators, basically our governors, that they can't open. Um, you know, how do they protect themselves then? You know,
It's different for every business. I mean, I've been fortunate. Most of my clients have actually been doing really well, and actually, many of them have had their best year yet.
yeah. I mean,
This year,
we're super busy, which is great. I love it. but I look at some of my clients and they're like, Rob, help us, we need
Yeah.
help. And it can be overwhelming, because you really want to help them. And you look at them and think that they're not going to be around in 6 months.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. Certain businesses, here's the thing. I'm a part of Mike McAllowitz. I don't know if you know who he is, author of Profit First. Um, Part of his group, Profit First Professionals. And during the pandemic, he actually did a lot of trainings for the members of so that we could help our clients. And one of the trainings was actually very interesting. It's a step back method. It's when, let's say, it's a restaurant. And he said, well, in Button, where he is in New Jersey, many restaurants just shut down within a month, but others were thriving. So he just couldn't understand what happened. So he started researching it and he found the step back method. And he said that basically, when you're a restaurant, let's say you're producing cooked food at the place, right? So an experience. What's the step back from that? Cooked food delivered.
Mhm.
Another step back, if you're unable to do that, maybe your favorite recipes, maybe ingredients get delivered, and then there's a Zoom class where you cook with your favorite dishes with the chef.
Mhm.
So, and then there's other steps back, and then maybe a menu, maybe a recipe for sale or something like that. But for certain businesses, it's very hard to pivot like that.
Yeah.
And there is this crisis management curve that Mike talked about, where the first step is a state of shock. And then it's kind of going down where basically, actually should be showing it this way, kind of state of shock, and then it's going down. And the next step is, when it's going down, is the desperate action. So many businesses in this pandemic, because it was shock for everyone. I mean, even my strongest CEOs that I work with were in shock for a day,
Yeah.
but then they bounced back and they pivoted and they acted quickly. But many businesses were in that state of shock and desperate action for months.
Oh yeah, and I've just been reading where that a lot of these businesses who took out these EIDL loans and the PPP loans, and they're filing bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They just couldn't, even after borrowing millions of dollars from the government, they're going under because they didn't understand their numbers. They didn't know how to pivot. They didn't know how to take, you know, this desperate action that turns into something that they could pivot on. And it's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, it is sad. It's actually many, I mean, very sad, especially for businesses who really can't pivot, like a hotel, for example. Like, how do you pivot from that?
Yeah.
But the next step after the desperate action, actually, I was doing it right. The
It's
next
always
step is,
backwards on the video,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's backwards. So like this. So shock, desperate action, and then the next step is evaluation. That's where most of my clients moved quickly with my help.
Mhm.
And once you're aware of this curve existing, next time around you'll know. So hopefully next time around you won't stay in that state of shock for a long time, and you'll move and pivot and evaluate. A couple of clients of mine let go of some staff. Unfortunately, a couple of them cut one or two pieces of rent,
Mhm.
negotiate with their landlords. But if you don't know what's happening in your finances, you can never do that, because you don't know even to what to negotiate, what to do, what to plan.
Yeah. And talking about negotiation, and I saw this on, I think it was on your Facebook or your website, where you can actually negotiate with the IRS now.
You absolutely can. Yeah.
Although trying to call them on the phone is pointless because it's like what, 3 hour wait time.
Yeah. And then they hang up on you. It's terrible. I mean, there's some service didn't sign up for it, but there is some service that supposedly you pay a monthly fee and you can get like a 3-minute wait time with the IRS. I don't know. I have not used it, but
It's like a
I've heard
fast
about it.
pass at Disney. You pay extra.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so you can negotiate with anyone. And with the IRS, for sure, you can always negotiate. I actually have a client similar that has a similar to your story, but actually I think it's much more dramatic. He had a partner in the business. They had a lot of equipment. They had a fencing business. They produced fence.
Mhm.
And one day, one morning, he comes to the shop, and the shop has been cleaned out. His QuickBooks access has been removed. Bank access has been removed. And then he started getting bills from the IRS that he didn't pay payroll taxes, which is a huge no-no. That he didn't pay for the equipment. So it's just, it breaks my heart when I hear stories like that. And I actually have a book chapter in my book, and initially the title was supposed to be "Partnerships Never Work," but then I changed it to something else, and now it's still about partnerships. But I do believe to my core that it's very, very rare that partnerships work well.
Yeah, I think partnerships can work if each person knows their boundaries, knows what they're supposed to be doing, and their personalities jive. But by and large, partnerships fail.
Yeah, I agree.
So how can people find you? Where do they go? And where is the book going to be?
So the book is going to be definitely sold on Amazon. It's actually already available for pre-order. If you want to connect with me, go to talktotatiana.com. You can find information about the book, about the bonuses that come with the pre-orders and other things, and just information about how to connect with me. And I have some free resources available as well. And that's about it. I mean, the book is going to be sold at other stores like Barnes and Noble and etc. But I don't have those links for pre-order yet. It's probably going to happen sometime in January and February, right before the book launches in March.
Yeah, and all the listeners out there, if for some reason you can't get it, just reach out to me. I will reach out to Tatiana. We'll get you a book. You're going to have to pay for it because the information is not free. But maybe we can work out some type of deal where you get her autograph too. Most people don't want my autograph; they just want my book, and that's okay. I hate signing books. So,
Really?
yeah, to me, it's just you want a book? All right, I gotta sign. And I had one person order 150 books, and they wanted them all autographed. It took me a whole fucking day. That's a waste of time. I like to just stamp it. If they don't want
You
to stamp
probably could.
it.
Yeah.
So everybody that's out there, order her book because you're going to need it. I know some of you don't like to read, and that's fine, but have someone read it to you at night. Um, understand what your numbers are. I mean, I look at my numbers almost every day. I guess I'm just obnoxious, but I like to know where I'm at. And sometimes I'm just a little short of my monthly goal. So I'll say, okay, let's put out a book special. Let's put out a coaching special. Let's do something that's going to get people to, you know, remember who I am, to contact me, to do something. But I want to hit that goal every single month.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome. I love that.
I didn't start this business to make a lot of money. People are like, what are you talking? I started this business for more freedom so that I could work so many set hours so that I could have time with my family, that I could take a lot of vacations. Because people that know me know I love Disney. I like going to Disney. Every year I go to Disney. Um, but you need money to do all those things. And to have a business that not only pays your bills, but gives you a livelihood that allows you to take vacations is really what you want.
Yeah.
Plus
And
you want to have some money for retirement too, so you can do all those things, you know,
yeah.
every day. But you need to think about that. And pricing your service to attract a low hanging fruit is not the way to do things. Pricing your service to be up here so that it affords you all the things that you want out of life. That's where you want to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And I like what you said that, you look at your numbers almost daily. That's phenomenal because, I could work with a couple of CEOs where we meet every week and sometimes we talk text every day. And typically what happens is we'll look at like, let's say first week, how
Mhm.
close are we to our monthly goal? Are we about quarter in
Yeah,
or whatever, one third in? If not, what can we do to change it?
yeah.
But if you don't know, then you won't know what to do and how to really grow your business and advance it and create the life that you want.
Right. I look at a friend of mine who is in auto sales. He has a car lot, and I can always tell when his numbers are off because probably 4 days before the end of the month, He's putting out more marketing. He's putting out more stuff. He's, come on down. We got these crazy deals. And I'm like, dude, why don't you do that every day? Why do you wait to the last 4 days of the month to do something crazy? But that's what it is. The whole car industry is like that.
Yeah.
If you knew your numbers every single day, you don't have to be so crazy at the end of the month.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, time's running short here. So please go visit Tatiana. Her website is Talk to Tatiana. Is that right?
Yeah.
And buy her book, pre-order it right now. And start getting the understanding that you know your numbers and that you know how to effectively run your business. Because to me, that's the key. Knowing your numbers gives you more freedom to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will catch you guys on the next episode. Adios.